The characters are just as well developed and compelling as always, and it's a pleasure to revisit their interactions at the start of this new season. The first episode of this new season was like taking a warm bath. It was familiar and comforting, and it was all the better for it. It's nice to be back, all in all. The last time we saw Ted and the AFC Richmond team was almost a year ago, but this season takes up just a few months later, at the beginning of the new football season. Ted Lasso Season 3 Episode 1, titled Smells Like Mean Spirit, opens with Ted sending his son Henry home after a 6-week visit to London. Ted is dressed in sweats, jeans, and those chunky sneakers we love in full dad early on a Saturday mode. He has a little stubble, his hair is styled but not fully combed, and he is sporting those. It's an interesting juxtaposition to his normal coach wear. Of course, you wouldn't consider that to be particularly suited up. However, seeing Ted in this position serves as a reminder to viewers that despite the coach's apparent ease at work, he is actually more tightly strung. After a typical Ted goodbye suite, but with plenty of unacknowledged emotions, he goes back to his apartment. We see him switch back into coach mode while talking with Dr. Sharon, Sarah Niles, about saying goodbye to Henry. This includes shaving and precisely trimming that mustache. Once more, it serves as a pictorial representation of Dad Ted and Coach Lasso's differences. It also confirms that Ted is still receiving treatment, despite the fact that his doctor has joined a new team and is occupied with other endeavors. Most of the conversation is what you'd anticipate until Ted reveals he isn't sure what he's doing still in England coaching Richmond. What happens if he has already remained too long? What if having him around actually makes matters worse? Quoted by the good doctor, doubt can only be eliminated by action, it serves as motivation. Despite the fact that it is just a fancy way of saying, you won't know unless you attempt, it seems to be helpful. By the way, the quotation is from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, a major figure in the German Renaissance of the late 18th and early 19th centuries. He is well known for many things, but his drama Faust is the most well known. Although that might apply to Ted, whose quest for information about whether he is the best candidate for Richmond is now driving to his demise, it seems like a much better fit with Nick Mohammed. Ted's depression could not have occurred at a worse moment, as every sports columnist and newspaper columnist, including one of Higgins, Jeremy Swift, numerous children, predict Richmond will finish last and be demoted once more. Hannah Waddingham, who plays Rebecca, notes Ted's absence right away, but accepts his justification of Henry's departure. This may be creating a situation akin to Season 2 in the future. Ted was attempting to keep his nervousness hidden, while also avoiding acknowledging it. He may experience dysthymia or lose his competitive attitude in Season 3. While Nate's departure has Coach Beard, Brendan Hunt, Anne Roy, Brett Goldstein in a panic gotta outthink him state, and Rebecca is upset about the predictions, the team is more in step with Ted's outlook. They are demoralized and disoriented due to the press's relentless barrage. It suffices that the coach pulls together and leads the group on a field excursion to the London Sowers, despite his own personal storm. Congratulations if you believe it's for a lengthy metaphor. That's it. The team has an option, says Ted. Perform like pre-Sower London and rely on the poupée of the media, as Jamie, Phil Dunster, insisted, to survive. Alternately, modernize and cooperate with one another to send that shit to the processing factory, where the damaging press can no longer harm them. Of course, it also draws attention to them. An image posted to social media by a local construction worker gets viral very rapidly. Nate continues to be fascinated with social media and checks Twitter first thing in the morning. He only stops long enough to abruptly reprimand another West Ham employee. On the field, Nate proceeds to act in a terrible manner by humiliating a player for an invisible mistake. But before he can insult any more members of his team, Rupert summons him into his office, which is very reminiscent of the Wicked Empire from Star Wars. Head does a fantastic job in these scenes of Rupert's seduction, while still making it obvious that he's a bad guy. He's playing the coach's desire to be respected and to feel as though a father figure is proud of him, precisely, making it obvious that he has Nate's number. Mohammed, on the other hand, is a good fit. There is just enough of a glassy look in his eyes when Rupert informs him that Richmond was unaware of his grandeur. But it doesn't take Nate long to revert to his jerk persona when he confronts the first press conference of the season. He fails in his attempt to emulate Ted by citing, "Getting to know you from the king and I." Nate gives himself another spitting motivational talk while hiding under the desk. Then he suddenly reappears to insult a reporter and make several digs at Ted and Richmond. None of it is particularly offensive, but the fact that he turns to Rupert for approval shows how uncomfortable it is for him to be cruel, just as it was when he was attempting to be silly and lighthearted at the beginning of the conference. Rupert, however, enjoys it. He loves it so much that he decides to buy Nate a brand new luxury sports car as a gift. Rebecca calls Ted to the carpet after attending the conference in person and attempts to yell him back to life. It's enough of a pep talk to make Ted speak to the media about Nate's remarks. Instead of responding, he outdoes the insults made by his erstwhile protege by making funnier jokes about himself. Ted seems to have won the news cycle by the time the press conference was over. In addition, he was effective in making the story about himself rather than all the dire forecasts for the Greyhounds. Finally, we make our way to Keeley's Juneau Temple to discover that the foreshadowing from the closing episode of the previous season has come true. She and Roy parted ways. Or, as Keeley implies, on a break. Roy maintains that it is broken up. It's a disappointment. I'm still dubious and miffed that the show decided to move forward with it. However, Phoebe, Elodie Blomfield, sporting a chocolate ice cream mustache, reacts coolly and detachedly before calling her adored uncle stupid, making the situation more enjoyable than it should be.